We got game number 1 of this series being initiated now. We're about to check on these LoueMT spawns and see what it has in store for us.
And here we go. It's our game number 1 in our second set here of the day. It's gonna be Izzy Marinelord versus LoueMT. Marinelord, also commonly known as the Dog Baron himself, and we're gonna be playing here on LoueMT, a Basset versus Chinese. He's not commonly known as Dog Baron. I'm making that up, but I'm establishing it right now.
It's nicknames come from out of nowhere. Who knows how it, sometimes it just sticks, and it could just be the one that does.
All right, here we go. Standard start right now for Louis, going with the village opening, has his mill next to the berries, supervising it and getting the sheep there. Standard China stuff here so far coming out from him. On the other side, we see Marinelord. He's already built his House of Wisdom. He's on the sheep right now, not opting for those early berries early on. Both players just scouting around for sheep right now on the map, looking how the map spawns and looking how the map spawns. Once again, we have this case of where the two large gold mines, they spawned really close, or while they spawned on the same side of the map here once again.
Yeah, both up towards that kind of northeastern side, and a beautiful spot to drop a keep because you're not only securing gold, you're securing that sacred site as well. And if you're Louis, you can actually take that boar too if you want it.
Yeah, China is able to take the boar here. I mean, earlier in the Abbasid mirror, there was no civilization that really could go for the boar, since Abbasid can't eat from the boar. Louis can go for it with the Chinese, and that's a lot of food that is there on the map for you. Now, Marinelord with the Abbasid, every single berry patch is going to be gold for him. Well, it's going to be worth gold. Because the Abbasid, they gather really fast from the berry patches, and when they place a mill next to a berry patch, all the berries there gain extra food. So that is why LoueMT is so good for civilizations like the Basset and the Delhi. They can get a lot of use there out of those patches of berries.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just, it's such a fine line with the top elo of play, with utilizing resources out on the map to then delaying that farm transition as long as possible. And this is what allows Abba to have that food benefit. They don't have the boar, they have the berries, which there's more berries on LoueMT.
And now we actually see Marinelord going for military wing here early on in the feudal age. So it looks like he is gonna go for a little bit more of an aggressive kind of play style. I think he's probably still gonna go for a second TC. I don't think you can really play this one TC against Chinese, just because Song Dynasty is pretty much guaranteed to come in, and with Song Dynasty, it's very tough. Like, the villager count is going to be in favor for LoueMT really, really quickly. But the early archers, just because of how Louis has placed his mill, the early archers can deny a lot of the food income there. If they go around there, if the Barbican isn't able to stop that, that means that the archers can pretty much deny the entire food income from the mill. They're just able to stand there. The mill is not going to be in range of TC. And the archers are going to be able to shoot all the villagers that are there trying to gather food.
Yeah, I find the military wing being like a really cool, like, two-pronged approach. Like, first and foremost, what it does is it allows Abba to defend any pressure that could come out, whatever that pressure may be. It really allows their secondary TC to go in a spot they want it to. And if their opponent isn't planning any pressure, isn't planning that early aggression, well, they're going to punish their opponent for not, and hopefully force a different build, hopefully force a reaction that they weren't expecting.
This is why I'm personally a big fan of just placing your mill literally right next to your town center. Like, every time I don't do it and I get punished, I'm like, man, next time I'm never going to do it again, where I'm going to place my mill on my berries with China. I always place it next to my TC. Because with that, your food is completely safe. No archers, no longbows, nothing can get to it. But if you place it like Louis did there's the chance that the archers from Marinelord might be able to completely deny the food there.
Yep, and those spearmen, those archers are headed on out. The Barbican placement up near his wood line, near that market post, just kind of securing up the eastern side of his base.
Yeah, but he can still run around that. But he's actually running around the other way. He's first going to be trying to deny the gold and then try to deny the berries. Not that there's anything on the gold right now, but it looks like Louis, he's immediately going for his archery range as well, so the timing might not be there for him. This is actually pretty decent timing here with the archery range as well. Louis already having the wood that he needs for it. Don't think he made a lumber camp yet, actually. So this is pretty rushed out. Yeah, he doesn't have a lumber camp. That's why he was able to build the archery range so far. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because that means that he's also missing out on tax and supervision. But the couple of early archers is gonna allow him to stay on that food.
Yeah, it just allows no real damage to come out, and we actually see Marinelord. It looks like he's pulling back with some of those units from that military school. Doesn't have a way to pressure or a place to pressure with them yet.
Yeah, he first went around the one side, then he changed his mind going the other side, and now we see archers here from Louis. So with that, it means that Marinelord's military wing units aren't going to be able to do too much here, and behind that, Marinelord is going to be going for that second TC.
And the second TC's coming into play exactly as expected. Pretty decent timing as far as the build goes, and right as Marinelord's going to be able to start dropping his, that's when Louis is moving out for stone now.
So at least the prospect of there being like units coming out from Marinelord with the military wing, that pretty much already delayed Louis a little bit with his TC. Usually you want to get like the Song Dynasty and the second TC up by like 6:50, 7 minutes in. Oh, he's killing the sheep. That's cheeky.
Hey, if you're not gonna pick up the scout, you might as well pick up a kill on something, and was able to pick up 2 sheep over there. Marinelord circles back yet again with his military mass, and 3 archers are still waiting here ready.
He's running in circles around the base, and first TC is coming up, but he's still on stone, I believe, so it is going to be a 3 TC play as expected.
Not only that, Louis spots the horseman running across with his scout that was on that TC, and spearman already prepped and ready, but the spearman needs to stay protected from those archers on the other side.
Horseman is going to be in there. Archers are focusing down that spearman. Spearman is going to be going down. Another spearman, though, is there to replace it. Trade-off is going to go in the favor of Louis here. From
yeah, Marinelord barely stepped into that Chinese town center fire, but just has such a high base damage, and Horseman took 2 shots up from it and got taken out rather quickly.
Yeah, so the start right now, I mean, to be fair, all of the units there were free from Marinelord, right? With the military wing, so it's not too bad for him. He's about to get his 3rd TC up as well, only it's a little bit more wood for it. And second TC is only now going to be coming out for Louis, so this is roughly like a minute delayed right now. And behind that, Marinelord is actually being a little bit cheeky as well, and just pushing the deer out a little bit makes it a little bit more inefficient for Louis to go for these deer. Honestly, just cancel the TC position there, place it next to the one that I already killed, and just lure the other ones in.
Yep. Whatever may work there, and even still, TC positioning works fine. He can drop a mill and have tax resource drop off if he wants, but don't really think that's necessary at this point. Horsemen do dive across, but Louis is prepped and ready with a few spears there waiting.
Yeah. Right as the second TC from China gets placed, 3rd TC is about to be finished for Marinelord. And with that, both players are now just going to be macroing towards Castle Age. I think Marinelord probably might be making a couple more units just to harass on the sides, but other than that, this is just going to be a Castle Age play. Now, I don't think any of them is really going to be investing too much into Feudal Age. And then once Castle Age hits, that's when we're going to be seeing some big aggression here coming out from these players. Because Abbasid usually, once they age up, because they aren't able to rush up their age ups, they're going to age up with a lot of resources in the bank, and then they want to spend that, and they can spend it on a lot of military.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll see that kind of trap a lot of times with Abba. By the time they get to castle, since they have so many villagers and they boom so hard, the minute and 45 seconds that they're waiting, they can almost go Imperial after it.
Oh god, he's doing it again. He's using his military units there just in order to spread out the deer even further. Wait, actually, look at where the icon is on the map for the deer spot and where the dead deer are.
Oh,
Marinelord, that is filthy. That is filthy. You cannot. Wow.
I don't even know where the deer are. I see like 3 or 4 carcasses, but it's not even close to where the original spawn was.
That is absolutely disgusting, and I love it. Marinelord just absolutely destroying that deer patch there. Wow.
Yeah, that's one of those frustrating ones that Louis gonna go across, be like, oh look, I still have this deer to move out to, and he's gonna be like, what is going on? Where are the deer?
Oh man! All right, that's quite strong. And Louis actually is making a couple of horsemen of his own right now, probably just to try and get some map control as well. He does have the military adventure, but Culture Wing, this is a really good timing here for Marinelord. So, as I said, he's going to hit that age up 11-ish minutes into the game, more like 12 minutes with the with being unable to rush up that age up. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty good timing. Culture Wing, it's not going to be the Eco Wing. Personally, right now, I'm favoring like the Eco Wing, because it allows you a really smooth farm transition. Oh, and there we go. Horsemen actually now they're on the goal, but it's not a lot of horsemen. Marinelord in theory can just fight that with villagers.
Yeah, horsemen just going to be waiting for those villagers to go back onto the gold. And this is a key timing, though, because this is when Marinelord's aging up, so won't quite have that big of a bank, or as big of a bank that Abba's typically used to, where they'll click like 6 to 7 upgrades and a bunch of units and whatnot. But with going culture, might not be the worst thing, because you're going to want to wait for the, what is it, Preservation of Knowledge tech?
Yeah, Preservation of Knowledge. I think it's been buffed recently, and, well, not too recently, but the Preservation of Knowledge has been buffed in a way that it also decreases the cost of your next age up, or rather age up like all technologies, even the age up. So Imperial Age is going to be quite a bit cheaper for Marinelord, but also it is, I think, 30 seconds research time now instead of a minute. So it comes in a little bit quicker, and it definitely, like, it drastically reduced the cost of upgrades.
Yeah, and that's one where, like, not only that is you, as the Abbasid, you'll most likely, when you're Castle Age, you're going to be that much closer to your Tier 2, which means your research techs are going to be coming in quicker as well.
Exactly. Once you're able to get that that Golden Age, I think it's, yeah, 20%. Quite sure it's, wait, no, it was 15%. Yeah, it was 15%, because initially the first Golden Age was only 10%, then was bumped up to 15%, but the second Golden Age is still 15%, I think. Yeah. So it's going to be 15% faster research time there.
Yeah, and this is where both of these players invested into some walls, trying to protect up some of that eco, and Louis is about to have the unfortunate realization that Marinelord has some too much APM that's needed to be utilized.
Yeah, I mean, Louis, he does have the military units here in order to fend off these horsemen, but what's left after that? Like the deer, it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, he's like going to wall off, and he thinks he's like walling in that deer pack, and in reality he's like cutting it in half because of how far they got pushed on away.
Yeah, now there's a lot of military coming out from Marinelord. He's got the Ghoulems out, he's getting the crossbows out. Also really important is that he's getting his walls up, especially when you're playing against the Chinese, because of the added movement speed from the Palace Guards. You really want to have them be slowed down by those walls. Having to, if they need to like burn down through these walls, it gives you a lot of time to react to them, to positioning of them. And Ghoulems are also a little bit faster in normal man-at-arms. Now, it's not nearly as fast as the Palace Guards, but it still makes a good difference.
Yeah, those Palace Guards, they will start streaming into the eco if you don't have walls on up, and we see the first couple ones trying to do exactly that. Yeah,
Louis, though, posting a knight there on one of the walls, so he's going to be able to spot when a villager tries to wall in, and also managed to kill a villager there, so looking quite good for him. Louis also going for walls of his own on the map, and yeah, the knight just trying to find value here. Marinelord also went for some farms now. He's not confident in his map control right now, so he's not just going for more and more of these berry patches. Instead, dropping some of his own farms right now. He still has a lot of the deer left there under his second TC.
And now that knight's circling on around, the Ghoulems pushing on forward, and so we're about to start seeing this point in this mid to late game that things are starting to get hectic, but who can just kind of stay composed, stay with their game plan, and really get their opponent off kilter.
It's really interesting the way this matchup has changed a little bit with the introduction of Ghoulems. So Ghoulems are the unique unit for the Abbasid, so they completely replace the men-at-arms. They have a lot of bonus HP. They're more expensive, but they have a lot of bonus HP, and also they attack really fast. So every second attack from the Ghoulems has a lot of bonus attack speed, so they have like double attack pretty much. And because the Palace Guard has less armor than normal Man-at-Arms, that means that these double attacks make a big difference there.
Yeah, they're that much more effective going against Palace Guards, especially comparing against, you know, a unit such as a Men-at-Arms, which is much tankier. Nest of Bees able to fire on out. That is one of the units that the civilization Chinese loves so much, and you'll usually see about 4 or 5 of them end up popping out.
Yeah, but with the Ambassador, you're able to produce siege on the field, so I wouldn't be surprised if Marinelord starts to prop some Springlets up very soon. Behind that, relics are also being captured. 2 are already on the side for Marinelord. He's gathering up a 3rd one right now. Louis managed to gather up 1 so far. Is able to get the 2nd one now as well.
Military mass is just starting to look a little bit questionable. Louis sitting at about 20, not including his siege though, while Marinelord sitting up at 40, doubling that mass. But it's all about the Nest of Bee shots, because if he takes 1 or 2 unfortunate ones, you can just say goodbye to those double-digit numbers.
The issue is going to be the timing, as I said earlier, in the next 3 minutes, because that's when Louis is going to have to do his farm transition. And he spent a lot of wood into these Nest of Bees, which makes me think that he might die during his farm transition here.
Bringing a relic back into play. Marinelord's the one who's able to drop a few more farms behind this. He's going untouched too. Wouldn't even feel bad to see him move out onto some of the other berries, some of the other food sources, because he has a mass knocking on Louis' doorstep right now.
There we go. Crossbows are making a Springled now. Marinelord not too confident right now in order to push into the base, as Palace Guards are knocking on his door as well. Pulling some villagers in order to repair that wall segment is going to buy him a lot of time.
Honestly, I'd love to see him just do one of those like extra wall segments too, like just put an extra one behind this and then have those at Palace Guards just have to burn down 2 walls, maybe even 3.
It's fine to just repair it, because you can literally out-repair it with like 5 villagers, so he doesn't have to worry about that at all. And also, if you do that, it's a lot of APM that you have to spend on that as well. There's a lot of Nest of Bees right now in the base though for Louis. Look at that. 3 Nest of Bees, 4 Nest of Bees, 5 Nest of Bees out here right now. So Marinelord is going to have to be careful. I'm not sure if 1 Springle is going to be enough, but he's sending the Ghouls forward. Ghouls being really tanky, actually able to survive a shot of 5 Nest of Bees here. And now the Ghouls surround the Nest of Bees. If those go down, I fear it's GG. If those go down, it's just GG.
100% the Ghoul. I mean, Ghouls are on top of those crossbows, just falling back away. Villager trying to heal those up, but not healing them fast enough, as there are Ghouls surrounding and circling Louis down to single-digit military numbers.
Nest of Bees all going down, and we're getting to that 19-minute mark that I alluded to earlier. With the farm transition just not being there right now for Louis, he just lost all of his siege, and with that, this might just be game over. Even more siege getting sniped, and we call GG, and man, I'm gonna say this was a good prediction for me.
100%. You're on the money there. You spoke from experience. I feel like knowing the weaknesses, knowing the timing that you should end up being worried about, and that is exactly what happened. Marinelord pushed the pressure in, timed it up perfectly, and closed out that game.
Exactly. Wow. Really well played here by these players. And there we go. Village account. It was a steady climb here for Marinelord, but at the end for Louis, it just fell down. And here we see, with the military, Abbasid are just able to continuously produce. And Louis, he died during the farm transition. Or, well, not during it. He didn't even have enough wood in order to go for it.
Yeah, he was fully relying on the Nest of Bees to try to hold that off, to try to hold off that push, but there were just too many infantry, military, or frontline units to just run and surround those. I'm maybe if he could have done like a split on the Nest of Bees, but even still, I don't think there was even close to enough.
Yeah, exactly. And man, that was a really well played game by Marinelord. Every time we see Marinelord play, it is always like really well executed. That's why I say that this set is all about execution. I think both Louis and Marinelord are incredibly good when it comes to their execution. And there it is. Frisian Marshes, Mongols is getting picked by Louis. Marinelord is playing French here, and he must be headbutting himself right now, or like, it hurts. It hurts when you see French once again against Mongols. But maybe this time we see a different outcome here because Marinelord's French is special.
Yeah, this is one where go ahead and get your notepads out. We've seen how Mongols was able to dominate this matchup. Well, now we can see maybe the ways to little poke holes in the Mongol game plan, poke holes, find the weaknesses, and allow the French player to get that leg up. One thing it could be is, obviously we've seen the tower rush come out, but you mentioned the second TC was too late for yourself. Well, maybe it's just letting the gold get towered and just going directly for a quicker second TC play.
Yeah, potentially. Like an earlier second TC might be a way to go for it. I'm still not 100% confident in that one, just because it's really really strong to like the trade and the second TC. It's quite strong. All right, we're taking a look at the scores right now that we got here currently. So that is our group number D here that we're seeing. It's being led by Marinelord, then Louis, and a lot of these sets, the earlier sets, yeah, this was the one where all of the sets so far were clean sweeps.
Ah, yeah. So just all 3 O's or O3s.
Exactly. It looks like some of the other sets here that have been played today were also clean sweeps, as Nubadan is now 3-3, Kaiser Johan is 0-6, and yeah, it's gonna be left to see if maybe after the games then it's gonna change up. And here we see group number C being led by Demu. Doesn't seem to be updated yet, so the game that Baltune and Demu played so far is not up to date. So Demu, he won his set against Sordov 3-2.
And then yeah, Baltune played against Lash, I believe. I believe Baltune got the dub there on the outcome. I don't know what the overall score differential was.
I think it was 3-1. Yeah, it was 3-1 for Baltune. So he won that set. And then we see I Am Magic leading this group B here with a 6-0. Vortex looks still like he hasn't played his set yet, though. We also have Beastie, Certain, Avely, Valdemar, Matisse, and yeah, Knushelbear in there as well as like the players that we know so far from previous tournaments. Other players as well, we got Hung ADC, M7, Kamiknödel, and Garneth. Garneth known from the 3D clan. Then we got group number A. We got Recon, Anatent leading with 6-2, Mister. I'm still in place number 4. Nice. With 4-5.
Yeah. Hey, 5-4. That's a you're winning still.
Hey, I'm looking at Kiljardi. I'm ahead. I'm happy.
There you go. Yeah, Kiljardi 1-1 and has a full 10 games played in those 2 series, taking them all to the max.
And we got Kasava as well, Divine DFP, Sanich, and yeah, other players. We got Ramen, Sanich, and Athanatoy. Athanatoy is actually a really interesting player. Athanatoy, you see him on ladder playing exclusively China. Exclusively China. And he's really good with China as well. I think he's right around like the same level that I am with China as well, as a fellow Chinese main. But he can also play other civilizations. So he's also a really, really good player and definitely a player worth keeping your eye out for.
Yeah, I remember him making a run, and I mean, I want to say it was like 7 tournaments ago, and then kind of didn't hear his name for a little bit. Don't know if he, took a break, had real life stuff go on, but now I've seen his name start popping up again on ladder, on team games too, as I know he plays a fair amount of team games, and then now obviously him making the call to arms qualifier for this tournament.
Exactly, and we got so many good sets here, so many really good players, and not just like the more established players. We also have a lot of new upcomers here, so there's a lot of chance for upsets as well that can take place, and definitely might be interesting to see like the leaderboard or like the idea that players have of different players like in their own established like kind of ranking change a little bit throughout this tournament.
Oh yeah, it's as the weeks progress, as the way the Swiss bracket works, it's really cool because the strongest are going to play the strongest, and the weakest, maybe you, if you want to call it that, are going to play the weakest when they start losing their series. But it still gives them a way to progress throughout the tournament. It still gives them a way to learn, work on their shortcomings, and then try to shore up those when they are playing people more on their skill level.
Exactly. You never know. Anatent might actually be top 8 worldwide player.
Yeah, there you go. Only time will end up telling. That's what is it? Top 2 from each bracket qualifies for the next round.
Yeah, so we're only gonna have a couple of players then left. It's 8 players, right, in the end that make it through to the playoffs. So there's not a lot of spots. So players really have to grit their teeth in order to make it to the top 2 of that bracket.
Yeah, exactly. But enough of that. Now in front of us, this series, Marinelord versus Louis on Frisian Marshes and the civilizations that just seem to be the go-to picks here on this map.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of French, we've seen a lot of Mongols. Mongols look very, very scary right now on Frisian Marshes. I mean, I experienced it firsthand, sort of experienced it firsthand. Let's see if Marinelord can break the curse and defeat the Mongol Empire with his French.
Yeah, it has definitely been Mongol leaning in this matchup, this map specifically, having the corner market, having a lot of sheep, the easy short rush ability to your opponent's down center too.
Yeah, exactly. You're like pretty much on the same side of the map, so the rush distance is pretty close. So going for like these early tower rushes, it comes relatively easy. Another thing that sort of plays into the Mongols' favor here is that your market is very far away from your opponent, like your neutral market. It's a big distance to travel for Marinelord or to harass the trade from Louis.
Yeah, it's legit like the exact opposite corner, the farthest spot away from the map. That's where you'll see some people try to attack that neutral market. You'll see some people try to attack like in the middle where the trade route is going. And looks like we got a little timer refresh, so it's okay, guys. In the meantime, while we're waiting on this next game, we said it here before, but there's no reason not to just continue the support. If you got your Prime sub laying around, there is no better channel to support than EGCTV. So go ahead and click that sub button. You won't have any complaints about, mistimed ads, any annoyance there, even though we don't really have control over that.
Exactly. We got our call to arms community support code there in the bottom right hand corner. We're already a good step into that. So 643 points out of 2,500. I'm confident we can get it all the way to 2,500 by the end of it. But it only works if you help as well. So every single gifted sub is very much appreciated. Cheers as well. I think all of them count towards the sub goal. Donations as well. So it is not only subs with which you can support EGCTV.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it is. It's donations. It's every little bit, and that's the cool thing to put a point factor on it, because it all kind of just goes into this goal that it's all for the community and for the players as well, because it goes directly back to them, helps us create, well, them create more tournaments. I just get invited to cast occasionally, and I will never say no if I have that availability.
I heard that if we get to 1,000 today, Willalow 6 is going to be confirmed immediately.
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 Oh, well, now
So
we're
just saying,
talking.
yeah, if you want to find out, got us up.
Not too far away from that at all. I saw someone ask if Chamber of Commerce was going to be them. I doubt that French is going to go with the Chamber of Commerce. You kind of just give up a lot of when you're going for that, and Mongols is already going to typically be pressuring your base. They're typically going to already be on your side, so you kind of don't have that free ability to get your traders out.
If we hit the goal, does someone leak info? If we get to 2,500, I'm gonna bite the end. Nah, I'm just kidding. I can't do that. I can't. If I incur the wrath of Microsoft, they hold families hostage. I heard.
Oh.
All right, just a little bit left until we get into our game number 2. It looks like there was a rehost there at some point, so the timer has been restarted until we get into the game.
Yeah, which no big deal. Yeah, it's some waiting time, but it's waiting for good reason. We're just heightening that suspense. We're getting everyone amped up because of how good this series, how good these games are going to be for you.
Yeah. And there is still trade on Frisian Marshes. Yeah, I saw the question in the chat. Trade is still there in Frisian Marshes. There was a version for another tournament, the Conquerors Cup, hosted by Blade 55555555555, which actually had trades removed there.
Yeah, it was a really interesting tournament setup that he had. For those that don't know Blade, he is a land map, no trade player. And so there was no water and no trade posts involved. So just kind of a different way to play. And it was an exciting way. I think, was it also like limited stone or limited something of the sort like that too, I feel like. Or maybe it was just Bohemia. It's like that.
Yeah. All right, just a little bit longer. We're getting there. We're getting there. 25 seconds, and then we're going to be starting our game number 2. I'm really excited for this one. I am really excited for this one because this is not even arguably, this is going to be the best player against a matchup where I just don't see a way for French to win.
Yeah, I felt like after talking to you about that series earlier, you were just like, I didn't know what to, like it didn't feel like there was a good route to take to counteract that Mongol tower rush. And then the same thing once we casted it was like the same outcome. It just felt like Mongols was so far ahead, even with French taking some good military trades, even with French taking some kind of good raids, taking some traders down. It just wasn't enough. And let's see if Marinelord can change something up here.
Yeah. Just before we're about to begin, John from Wales, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subs as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is very much appreciated. But here we go. With that said, game number 2 in our second set of the day. We got Izzy Marinelord playing the French on Frisian Marshes against LoueMT, the Chinese menace, playing the Mongols, one of the most feared civilizations on this map specifically. And look what we've got going here so far. He's starting off with the Uvu, starting off gathering a lot of wood. So very likely gonna be that barracks kind of opening with the outpost rush that we usually see from Mongols here on this map. Marinelord, in the meantime, just gathering up the sheep that he can. Actually has a back... Wait, this is a Marinelord spawn.
Yeah, I was letting you finish it on up before I started talking about the gold location, because that thing, the only better place it could be is maybe if it were tucked in between his 2 wood lines, because then there wouldn't be any ability for...
I literally had that against Marinelord. It was the first time I faced him in a tournament, and he literally had that between 2 wood lines, and both wood lines were connected to the TC.
Yeah, that's how it's pretty close to that, but yeah, pretty safe gold. The big question is, it will be, what does Louis decide to pressure? Is he going to try to drop that outpost in between the gold and berries still and have it on the backside, or will he potentially just try to reposition where that potential outpost would go and let Marinelord get gold, but at the cost of giving up maybe stone and food as well?
I think he can just put it on the stone. Because as long as Marinelord doesn't scale and Louis continues scaling with trade, he's always going to be in a good position, right? So I think just putting it on stone is going to be fine enough. Also kind of like gives him a lot of vision over the middle, and that helps a lot as well.
I think that's one of the biggest things that people forget about with what the Tower Rush does. It's not always about the denial of resource. It's also about the information that it provides. Your Con and Scout will get to be active throughout the other parts of the map and really focus on your opponent's military positioning, while your outpost gives you all the information you need in their base.
Exactly, and so far, normal play here that we see out of both players. Marinelord about to age up to the fuel age. Very likely not going to be the Chamber of Commerce. I saw a lot of cock and joys in the chat earlier asking for it, but no, there it is, the School of Cavalry coming out here.
Yeah, and, I'm a School of Cavalry enjoyer myself. I'm not big on the other one.
No Chamber of Commerce this time. Indeed, instead we get the School of Cavalry, villager walking forward, and with that we're going to see an outpost. But it looks like he's going not the direction of the stone mine. It looks like he's actually going all the way around in order to go for that gold.
Yeah, so we'll want to just focus in. I guess there is always that case of saying, hey, French, they are only able to get 1 Royal Knight out before they have to reposition, before they have to find another place to go. We already see the outline of where he wants that outpost in, and he's about to start hammering on away in just a second.
I'm not really sure if he can really get that up in time. Marinelord already has enough gold in order to go for that first knight of his own. Right now, Louis just tries to be annoying here a little bit with his spearman. Actually, Marinelord denies the bounty here, destroying his own mining camp. So, looks like he's probably just gonna completely ignore that outpost. I think he can. Yeah, I think that works for him. I think maybe he just goes for a second TC instead. Like just goes out to stone, grab as much stone as he can, go for that second TC, and just put that on the gold and the shoreline pawns there that he has. And I think he should be fine with that.
Yeah, I kind of think that's the correct reaction. Like I was saying earlier, I think if you're going second TC, it's earlier in the game that you're going to want to be going it. So you're going to want it down way sooner to actually have an effect to allow your economy to scale up. Once you're dropping it at 10 minutes plus, it's already too late because Mongol's trade's fully online.
And here we wait. What? That is, huh? Deer stones? All right. What? Okay.
Forget everything we said.
That. It has worked 2 times so far today. Louis didn't want to make it a 3rd time. I swear, it's because he's playing against Marinelord. It's because he's playing against Marinelord. He thinks, no, I can't do that.
I don't know, but Marinelord is doing exactly what we mentioned, which is just don't even panic, move out to that stone, still go heavy onto the wood, and go to that second TC, which even if trade were online, I think this is where it makes perfect sense. He has the night out. If there were traders out, how would, well, Louis is not even feudal, but if there were traders going to be queued up, there's no way the trade's going to be able to get across, and Marinelord's already pressuring and investing into eco.
Now, just because he's going deer stones does not mean that there's not going to be trade. Because Louis can still make traders. The only difference is that they're not going to be as fast produced or that they cost a little bit more gold. It's not a huge difference. You can definitely still go for it. Right now, also, we see Marinelord not just going for that second TC or prepping that second TC, but he's also investing into archers. He also sees the stable coming out from his opponent. I don't think he spotted the landmark yet. Actually, he might have spotted the landmark. It's fairly close. Might just be a tile away.
Yeah, and that was one, I think that was his goal to initially... I think he's able to see it. I mean, he wants to see it. He needs to know if
he knows. He knows.
He sees
the aura on the villagers and the spearmen, so he knows. One way or the other, he knows 100%. Yeah, now we got safe confirmation. He knows that Deerstones is there. He also sees that there isn't a market in that corner there. So he knows that trade isn't happening at all right now for Louis. And yeah, it's a very different approach compared to what we saw in the earlier Mongol games here on this map.
I will say there was a time, like I want to say it was like kind of near this most previous patch when people started going away from the silver tree, but that didn't mean they're going away from trade. They just were using the deer stones to almost bait their opponent into thinking that they're not, as well as having that extra bit of economic investment because deer stones helps quite a bit with your overall economy too.
Yeah, it also helps your villagers running away from the knight, so able to run away a little bit faster, and he's getting wheelbarrow. With wheelbarrow, these villagers are gonna have 1.49 tiles per second movement speed. They're faster than palace guards.
Not something to be joked around about, and we can already see Marinelord's stone in the bank. It's enough for that secondary TC. He has just ignored that initial outpost this whole time, and we'll go secure up a beautiful location more towards the center.
All right, military being built here so far by both players. Now we also see archers being mixed in by Louis, so he's getting spearmen, Kashik, and archers out right now. Second TC is about to be placed, only needs a little bit more wood. And yeah, it's gonna be, as we said, it's gonna be on these fish on the ponds, and also kind of securing the gold there. Yeah, there we go. He wants to secure the gold as well. There we go. Yeah, that's a better spot.
Yeah, and it's not like Louis is gonna. Yeah, Louis is not gonna be able to do anything to be able to deny this location or pressure it for the time being.
He's even pulling the spears now. These spears aren't going to do anything there. Might as well just pull them back to that outpost. And right now, I mean, this is going completely unpunished right now. And Marinelord has already had a little bit in eco just because of the French TC bonus. Produces villagers a little bit faster. Oh, has to be careful there. House is now being under attack. Oh, there was no emplacement on that the entire time, actually, on that outpost. Double archer ranges now. So he's going to be producing a lot of archers here, Louis is.
Yep, Khan and Keshik going to try to circle around, hit that wood line, and put a little bit of pressure on this eco, which does a great job at least making Marinelord reposition the majority of those villagers.
Oh no, it's a 25 wood investment, but the Kashik isn't getting a village kill here. Khan is also running by. Oh, almost
Khan
GG.
is dead. It is a
that-
GG.
Khan dead, GG. And now the army from Louis might be a little bit out of position here. That's a lot of archers for Marinelord. He has the spears over there as well, so is going to be able to take a good fight there. Kashyyyks aren't able to jump on the archers yet, as the spearmen are still alive.
And the few spears from Marinelord just able to kind of chokehold those Kashyyyks, not allow them to pressure his archers, and forced Louis back on and away.
And behind that, Marinelord is scaling his army and economy. Yeah, he's scaling his economy way better than Louis is, and he's still even in military. Louis has to do something here economically or militarily. In one way or another, he needs to get a big something big going for him here soon. Because right now he's just falling further and further behind.
Yeah, Marinelord's sitting very, very happy. The longer this game goes sitting in feudal age, the better it is for him. Just continue to extend, continue to delay up anything that Louis is doing, and he'll find himself way, way further ahead.
Exactly. This is going to be really, really difficult now for Louis to come back from. One thing that he could still opt into would be the trade. Like, just make 2 markets on your corner there pretty much, and you will be in a fine position to just continue scaling. But now there's a lot of additional stables coming out from Marinelord, and he might just be going into a night spam here.
Yeah, I mean, the food he's able to get from all those shoreline fish, it's just well, it's the best food gathering you can get in the game over here. He's resecured that gold easily with the TC, and knights are all he should want to be making now.
Exactly, and Villager's also safe on the gold there, thanks to TC. Actually gets a kill there on the Kashik, so that one was already low HP there. Oh, Villager walking a little bit too far forward, does get a kill there. We actually killed 3 villagers so far this game overall, so he gets a couple of villager picks here and there. Still, right now, 7 villager lead for Marinelord.
Yeah, 7 villager lead, but Louis is getting to the point where he is doubling the mass of Marinelord. The question is can he do something with this mass that he has? Is he going to pressure the production like we see here in a second, not allow Marinelord to keep massing on up and equalizing those military numbers, and actually be able to get some damage on the eco too?
He's just positioning himself right up onto that production, but he doesn't have too many spearmen here right now. There's only like 3 spearmen there, and there's a couple of knights from Marinelord, so he has to be careful. He needs to pull his entire military. I think there's still some spears inside of the outpost towards the bottom side of Marinelord's base, so he doesn't have his entire military there grouped up. Oh, Kashik does go down. Knight is just gonna pull the entire military from Louis to the back. Oh, never mind, gets taken down.
Just barely able to get cleaned up. Marinelord at a double-digit eco lead now. And the house will get burnt on down and provide that raid bonus.
I really want to see Louis just place a forward outpost now in like the stealth roads towards middle to further spread out the MRR movement speed. It makes such a big difference. Basically, you can decide when you want to take a fight, and if there's a fight that you don't want to take, you can decide that mid-fight and not lose nearly as many units as you would otherwise.
Great job by Louis here, kind of splitting off the 2 different ecos, the 2 different TCs of Marinelord, and basically where a lot of the production is from Marinelord, so the groups of the armies aren't able to defend the eco as he should, and we're starting to see a little bit of idle time come out too.
He's also reuniting his 2 armies there with a couple of spearmen that were still stuck there in the outpost. Now Yamara gets spread out further along the map. Lots of units out on the field right now for Louis, not so much for Marinelord. Eco's still looking good for him, but militarily, Louis has 15, double the archer numbers right now. Oh, this could be big. This could be big. Does Marinelord notice in time? He does notice. 1 villager, 2 villagers go down. 3 stays at 3. So that's a lot of idle time on the wood economy as well right now.
Yeah, that's that main wood line, and he's trying to mass up archers, equalize on the archer numbers in comparison to Louis, and he's getting his archers doubled. Obviously, Louis doesn't quite have the Kashyyyks, the Royal Knight number, but it doesn't matter if you're taking the head-on engagements at times.
Yeah, Knights is still something that Marinelord can produce a lot of, even if the wood gets denied right now. And we see another outpost coming up here, but Marinelord might be about to spot that. Never mind, doesn't quite make the cut around the corner. Now he sees it. Is he going to be in time to deny that? He's going to go for it.
Yeah, I think he will. And Louis just
way,
cancels it. Villager will get chased on down. He does not have his whole mass here, so he needs to be careful about this spot and probably just fully fall back. He does have full vision of Marinelord's army, so this is typically where they will, you know, the players will punish the eco because the whole army is forward.
This is where Yamara becomes so important, but at the same time, it looks like Louis dives on the other side onto the economy here from Marinelord. Marinelord, though, he's not backing up. He keeps pushing forward. He is going for those 4 villagers that are stuck inside that outpost right now, and Louis, he just has to retreat.
Yeah, his armies, just how he was cutting off Marinelord's army, he, in effect, cut off his own army too, although he's getting some trades out as well, denying a lot of Marinelord's food. Marinelord, a little bit of a late reaction there. Louis has now picked up 10 total villagers while only losing 4.
Yeah, now there's still the second TC, and the French TC do produce faster, so Marinelord is still very far ahead right now when it comes to the economy. Oh, has to be careful that loses a knight. And the military number is still very, very much in favor for Louis here. If Louis is able to reinforce enough in the front in order to fight off Marinelord's army there, Marinelord would be in a very, very rough position. And he has no food right now. No, Louis has no food. Marinelord also has no food in the bank right now.
Both players denied off of food for the most part, but I think Marinelord's just in a little better situation. He has a little bit of that food, whereas Louis, he hasn't moved to those shoreline fish. He moved out to the deer in the center, and now he's on the back berries next to his town center.
Looks like now Marinelord is looking for the back army of Louis. If he's able to clear up any one of these armies without losing too much of his own, he's going to be in a very, very good position. And he does have a good amount of knights here. He should be able to win this, as there's not too many spears there in this one army from Louis. And he finds them. And there's no outpost for the Yam aura. Maybe Khan movement speed arrow might save him, but it's going to be very tough for him to escape.
Look at where his secondary armor is going, though. He has 2 split armies, but he's going to go straight for Marinelord's second TC.
I'm not sure if he has enough to take down the TC, though. There's barely any Keshiks, and the spearmen have low armor, so TC can just kill them very easily. He's able to cause idle time, though, and kill some villagers, which is very nice, though.
And now this forces Marinelord to pull his military back, and Louis escapes out and manages to keep his mass alive.
This is a very even game still, despite there not being any trade going out right now. Louis just having really, really good army control here. And Marinelord, he's actually got a farm transition going behind this now. There's still the outpost in the back of his base. So I'm not sure if he can go for all of these berry patches without being hit. But Louis just playing real... Oh, no. Mongols. He builds the Gur, and instead of his villagers going over to the food source there, they just start chopping wood.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
That's what he wanted, right? That's the resource. That's what happens when you have one drop-off building for all resources. Oh, that could be another good raid there.
Yeah, another couple bills going down. Another bit of that idle time on the wood line.
We're just being so good. And at the same time, on his TC, again.
I mean, Louis is just everywhere with his 2 masses, hasn't been able to group them back together, so it is very, very worrisome if Marinelord's able to ever close the distance on these, but that's where the Yam aura is just providing that move speed, potentially, if he can get inside of it.
It is so risky. He doesn't have vision. Neither has vision.
Oh, there it is!
They're just running into each other.
Oh, this is it. Oh, God.
This might be it. If one of these armies gets cleaned up, Louis is dead. He has to run. He has to run. Even if this is bad, just kite and run, kite and run. He's almost fast enough.
Look at how cleaned up. Look at how fast that cleaned up, though. Marinelord just equalized the military numbers in the blink of an eye.
That was such a good trade there for Marinelord. Ow. Okay. Now military even, but economy not so much. 25 villager lead almost right now for Marinelord. Now, Louis, he killed a lot of villagers. He killed 18 villagers, but it might just not be enough. But behind us, Louis actually built a second TC of his own.
Yeah, so maybe can kind of equalize the numbers if he keeps the pressure up, because he still needs to keep the pressure up, or else he will continually fall in villager count still.
Oh, 2 knights get stunned there. get taken down as well. Knights now retreat back behind the archers. Louis still has similar archer numbers here right now. Doesn't have enough spearmen though, it feels like. He had like 23 spearmen earlier. Now he's only down to 7, and the archer mass is shrinking rapidly for him.
Yeah, Louis' whole mass is shrinking rapidly. He was up in the 70s, 80 count before that devastating encounter in the Stealth Forest, and now it just looks like Marinelord is starting to take it to him. I said it, if this game starts to extend, this is where Marinelord wants to find himself, because he's been on 2 TCs and Louis hasn't been.
Yeah, exactly. And now this is going to be very much in Marinelord's favor, this game. There's still a lot of food left out on the map that he now has access to, now that he has map control. Actually, Louis has been sneaky here in the back. Look at that. He's got a lot of outposts there in the back of Marinelord's base. Towards
It'll make it difficult for Marinelord to grab the pawns, but all Marinelord has to do is send his Night Mass over and burn it down. But another fight goes in, and Louis, I don't think he can take this fight. He even runs forward, and I mean, he's getting cleaned up. And he's going to get cleaned up fast.
Yeah, that might just be GG. That fight, he way overestimated his own army size there. And he might just get completely cleaned up here. The Knights just proving too tanky for Marinelord. And Louis just doesn't have anything comparable right now going for himself.
Yeah, Marinelord more than doubling that military count, has 30 more villagers as well, so those outposts in the back, Marinelord could just pull 20 villagers to go burn them down, and it doesn't even matter to him.
Outpost has been completed with an emplacement. Actually doesn't get the villager kill here. Textiles making these villagers just a little bit too tanky, and with that, villager is going to survive. Outpost is going to get cleaned up. Another villager survives with just a slither of HP remaining, just 5 HP remaining on that one. Knight finds his way into the wood line. Isn't going to get a charge off, but is going to be a little bit annoying here. Spearman on his way to clean that one up.
Villagers get that nice little surround, so Knight not too much longer for this world, but he still paid his dues. He still got quite a bit of idle time and a villager out of it. And Marinelord has 62 archers. 62.
That's a lot. And now with all of this map control that Marinelord suddenly gained, now he's in a good position to start walling up the space. Make sure that there's not going to be any raids happening. As we say that though, a couple of Kashyyyks have just snuck their way in. But Louis, he's just not going to be in a position in order to remass his army nearly fast enough. And now Marinelord is going to go for that push. And he does have the military in order to finish this game off.
Yeah, easily should be able to just move under the town center, clear everything on up that he wants on Louis' side. But looking at the game now, you wouldn't have known how close it was, how many times that it felt like Marinelord was almost just dead in the water, but just able to hold, able to keep that military mass going and splitting Louis' mass and never allowing it to centralize.
Imagine if Louis had trade behind this. This would have been a very, very different game, but now he's still getting some raids in from the sides, but it is very difficult for him to hold this push here, if not impossible. And yeah, archer numbers, though, have been dropping a little bit there for Marinelord. These Kashyyyks, every now and then when they run in, they're able to soak up a lot of the fire there. Kashyyyks now coming in from the back as well. They're just running to their death, though.
4 spears, 5 spears left, and once the spears are gone, that is really what will be the only thing holding these knights back. And as we see the last knight, or the last spear fall, the knights go in, charge the archers on the other side, and yet again Marinelord is doubling up the military count of his opponent.
And Marinelord just is able to keep out trading these archers right now, and Louis, for some reason, he stays there. He has to fall back. There's nothing really that he can do to win this fight right now with the archers, and GG gets called, and that is going to be a 2-0 lead right now for Marinelord.
Yeah, very, very clinical game there. I guess it didn't really give us too much for the notepad, because Silver Tree not being built changes the game quite a bit and turns it upside down.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that, but not happening. So we're not gonna have the ultimate explanation here from Marinelord on how to deal with that matchup, sadly.
Yeah, you know, maybe the next series will have that in store for us. But for now, Marinelord goes up 2-0, and we will be headed in to map number 3 in a bit. And you can see, look at that military count. Louis had the numbers, but Marinelord, his whole mass was together, whereas Louis was split and made it to where that split mass wasn't quite effective.
Yeah, I mean that's what happened there, right? Marinelord was able to catch out one of the armies, and Louis just wasn't able to unite his armies in time, and that just started it, where Louis just wasn't able to mass his army once again after he lost so many units, and Marinelord was just able to keep on massing, keep on massing. Marinelord also with the just battery economy behind that.
Yeah, just very, very clinical game. And so to potentially finalize this series, we have game number 3 on Dry Arabia, I would say many players' most favorite map. But in the meantime, everyone take a look over there at the Crackedy camp. Oh, my animal would be totally different, as my husky would be bouncing off the walls and wanting attention and screaming instead of just kind of chilling, sleeping.
All right, but we already see what our next matchup is going to be. We see it's going to be French against the Delhi here. That's also going to be an interesting one. So Louis is going to be playing his French against Marinelord's Delhi on Dry Arabia. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very, very even game, I feel like. Like Delhi versus French. Now, it used to be, I think, a little bit French favorite. But I think now that Delhi have a new kind of horseman, the Ghazi Raider, I'm not so sure about that anymore. Now, the Ghazi Raider isn't a direct counter to the French Knights, but they have more HP, and if in straight up battles, they don't go down to the Knights nearly as quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely like that unit for the Delhi. When everyone was reading it on the patch notes, it was like, wow, Delhi's going to be really strong. Yes, what it did, it kind of just helped them in certain matchups specifically, and this definitely being one of them. Horsemen already were nice because they are able to kind of chase down knights and close out the lower health knights if chivalry was involved, but the Ghazis have the extra damage to heavy, so it just makes those trades so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. Delhi, I'm a little bit interested to see what the landmark choice here is going to be for Delhi. Now, the Tower of Victory is really nice, right? You get like really good attack speed, not just on your archers early on, but also later on. Your crossbows are also going to be boosted by that attack speed aura in the Castle Age. But at the same time, we've seen a lot of players when they go for like a kind of Ghazi-centered approach, they pick the Dome of the Faith instead. But thinking of Marino, I think he's still going to go for the Tower of Victory.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that I feel like, obviously with the French, we saw it last game, like French love their Royal Knights, but they still get a massive archer ball. And the same thing goes for Delhi. They love their Ghazi Raiders, but they still typically get a giant archer ball. So that's where Tower Victory can definitely prove to be very, very effective. The biggest thing is going to be the sacred site control. How well will Louis do at denying the sacred sites, delaying Marinelord from getting that free gold flow coming in? Because that's really where Delhi can just start to become uncontrollable. But let's see how this goes. Game number 3, starting in Marinelord in the southern side, playing as the Delhi versus LoueMT's French, and immediately going out for the deer opening.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Louis starts off with the deer. It's a little bit of travel time for your villagers, but he was fortunate to spot the deer spot immediately. It's quite nice. It gives you a lot of early food as well, and if you have to move back under your TC later on, you'll still have all of your sheep there. So overall, I really, really like this play. We've seen it a lot happening recently of French players, or in general just players, going for these early deer, even if they're not right next to your TC. Just because you get the upgrade, the survival techniques really, really cheap now, and it's a great food source early on in the game.
Yeah, I remember seeing, I think it was 3DB was one of the ones who I first saw do it, and right when I saw him and like the timings that it worked out to be, even when I would cast games and it took him a while to find that first deer pack, it was like, oh, the timing is still there, it still is worth it, and it allows you to stay safer later in the game, where you've taken a resource out on the map and you've kept your sheep safe and secure under your town center to then be able to grab later.
Exactly, and I mean the timing difference isn't that big. You don't go for the early deer because you're gonna have a faster time. You go for the early deer because it's gonna overall increase the amount of food that you're gonna be able to safely gather. because after that you still have all the sheep under your TC, and overall it's just a really nice thing to go for. Doesn't set you behind, but it still gives you something in the long run. Right now we see, as is usual with the Delhi, just all of these upgrades coming in early on. Marinelord did go for that early mosque, and yeah, he's getting that double production upgrade right now. Wheelbarrow also being researched for him right now. Standard early game for now.
Yeah, and you know, this is really where Delhi sacred site control, and looking at the sacred sites, they're very easily obtainable. There's one that's kind of off the beaten path all the way over on the western side, so I feel like it's mainly going to be a battle for these two central sacred sites.
The further away the sacred site is, the easier it is for Delhi to just sneak a single scholar out there, and it's going to be tough for your opponent to react to it. Just splitting up your army is always a little bit of a tough thing, but if there's a player that can do it, like we just saw with Louis, he's pretty good at splitting up his army.
Yeah, and if there's a civilization that's good about splitting off, you know, just 1 or 2 units to clear up a scholar, it is the French. Taking a knight out, you can just wipe those scholars from the field if they don't have spearmen protecting.
We're seeing a very forward school of cavalry only being built with 3 villages right now by Louis. That's surprising. I think usually you have enough villagers by that time under ETC in order to place the school of cavalry like in your main base. Instead, he builds it very far forward. I'm personally not a big fan of that. Now, it does cut down on travel time for his knights. But if that gets rushed down, like if he loses a fight, if he loses a position, that could very well just spell a nightmare for him then.
Maybe that's just the way he's thinking about this game, though. Playing against someone with, you know, such as Marinelord, it kind of is an all or nothing approach where you said, yes, this gives him a little bit of a benefit. Well, maybe he's thinking that even if he loses the fight, he's going to lose the game in his eyes. Well, maybe this is a way to just help him get that little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I think he's also going to be fine with not immediately making knights. I mean, not immediately making knights, not just because he doesn't want to invest resources into it, but also because he's only building the landmark with 3 villages instead of 4. Just because the timing for Delhi to start taking these sacred sites is going to be at roughly like 7 minutes. Usually it's like the earliest that you see.
Yep. Tower of Victory finishing on up. School of Cavalry going to be a little bit slower, but both players basically going to have Wheelbarrow at pretty similar timings, I would say. Marinelord scouts out the proxy-ish School of Cavalry, and he's probably thinking twice about that now.
Yeah, I mean, that just means that's going to be an early barracks for him. At the same time, though, we saw a lot of villagers for Louis on wood, so makes me believe that he's also just going to drop an archery range pretty much immediately. He might also just drop that one forward as well. And with that, he can immediately make archers forward on the field, and yeah, would definitely help him secure fights against these early spearmen. He hasn't dropped it quite yet, though.
Yeah, it's just going to be so... If he does drop it proxy, it's just going to be so much quicker for those archers to get there, almost reminding me of the old Roost build and the proxy boar play.
True, you build like an entire proxy base there with all your production buildings. No, instead he's going for another stable. Is he just going to go for a full night spam? And it's kind of weird how many villagers he has on wood right now.
Yeah, maybe it's for... I'm trying to think. It's because he's getting double broadaxe as well, which would make me think that you're not going full night spam, because why would you invest into your wood eco even further if at the cost of essentially kind of a knight?
I also don't think that it's going to be for a second TC, because just the timing would be really weird now to so late in the game go for a second TC, especially against Delhi. Once they get sacred sites, like, you need units out on the field. No, it looks like he's literally just making knights for now.
This reminds me of 3DB's build that he does in 2v2 games, where he's the knight only civ, and he is pumping only knights. He gets the early all the early eco techs for the most part, which you see Louis doing now, finishing up the last one as we speak, and from here it's usually knights, but I think in ones you have to invest in archers.
Yeah, I mean, if Marinelord just begins spamming out some spearmen, this is going to be really tough for Louis to deal with. And I mean, the question though is, does Marinelord expect only knights? I mean, nobody would expect that. Nobody would expect your opponent to like go for only knights in this kind of game, especially when you already opened up with the barrack.
I don't know, what was it? I think it was Faye versus Shiki in their hour-and-a-half game
Oh,
that
God,
Shiki
yeah.
only made knights the whole entire time. So you might not be expecting it, but it definitely does happen.
And it can work. All right. I mean, we're doing this right now. Spearman.
Okay.
All right.
So Louis investing into some spearmen, not archers, going ahead and getting the hardened upgrade on in, and Marinelord just
that.
now getting a second blacksmith too, so investing heavier into those long-term techs.
I like that play. I like the idea of just going for the spears now, because you already see the Ghazi Raiders from your opponent. And you know that you've shown only knights so far, so your opponent might just go for more spears of his own. So maybe you can just outspear your opponent.
That is one way to think about it, and you know, it just feels so weird going heavy into spears when you are the French player.
Actually, never mind. I don't like it. There's Tower Victory. Marinelord Spearmen are superior. I don't like it anymore.
It was a good thought at first, but we do see Louis was able to pick up the first Vil kill of the game over on those berries. The School of Cavalry is getting burnt down. That being said, not that effective because it takes a while and the knights are still popping on out, no problem.
Now we see Marinelord also dropping some archer ranges, so he is gonna go for archers in as well. And he just popped out his scholar out of his monastery. Out of his moss, so might start to think about capping some of the sacred sites.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting to kind of centralize this military mass to, I would assume, maybe wall the central sacred site as well as he's securing it too.
Here we go, spearmen. Oh, there are no more spearmen now in the woodline. The knights could have gotten some value there, but villagers do relocate a little bit further to the east, so knights aren't running in there yet. Louis still continues massing up these knights right now. But there's 13 spearmen out for Marinelord.
The knights tried to circle around the other side of the wood line, able to just pick up a spearman, probably pick up the second spearman if he wants, and then start whacking on those villagers.
Could get a point blank charge in there. Nope, doesn't go for that one. Instead falls back once more. Yeah, it's only knights right now. I don't want this to work, but at the same time, Marinelord has stopped producing spearmen. So this might work.
Knights barely able to push back that little bit of a mass from Marinelord. The question is will they be able to close down very long?
Now, another sacred site is going to be capped, but with that, Louis might just be able to decap the other one again. I'm not sure if Marinelord right now can hold multiple sacred sites, just because the danger of like having small armies getting cleaned up by so many knights, it's very high.
Able to pick up another villager or so, splitting his knight mass into two different spots, and it's mainly archers by that wood line that is trying to push the knights away as those spears are forward on the sacred sites. Uh-oh.
Ooh, this is really, really tough right now.
And Louis does not lose any knights for that charge in. Probably just wants to pull those two lower health ones back and regroup and rebuild, and that's exactly what he does.
Military right now. I mean, there's still a lot of spearmen out there, but it looks like Louis has also started adding in some archers of his own. And there aren't too many horsemen or Ghazi Raiders right now for Marinelord. This is really weird. You don't see something like this being played out this way usually.
Knights circle back for that wood line again. Spears brace on away, and Louis decides to pull on back this time and not go for that full charge.
It's only half of his knight numbers. He has a lot more knights elsewhere. That is dangerous. Looking at the army value right now, Louis has a lot more army value going for him. But so far, he hasn't decapped any of the sacred sites. Oh, that's good, parking the knight there.
Very good, just parking the knight there as Marinelord needing to move out to those berries now.
All right. I mean, looks like Marinelord spotted the knight. Never mind. Now, oh, what's happening there at the bottom? What is happening there? One knight's trying to decap. What's happening there at the bottom? Oh, it's a military from Marinelord. Okay, it's not villagers. Looks like Marinelord noticed that something's foul there, and he has cancelled the outpost. Now he's placed it again. So now he's going for it again.
Yeah, and a good job by Louis denying the Western Sacred Site, picking up a Scholar kill, and Middle Knight is not actually going to be able to deny the Sacred Site. Needs to be pulled back. Ooh, and he loses the Knight for it just barely.
Goes so quickly, but now there's archers for Louis. With those, he might be able to push there again if he notices. There's so many knights right now for him. He's almost on 50 knights. The army value, though, has gotten a little bit closer. Looks like Marinelord reinvested into his military.
Yeah, the question.
High value knights. As soon as the spearmen are done, it's gonna be really tough.
Oh, and the knight does find the villagers building that outpost on the berries just in time, picks up another one, and just more importantly, denies some food for the time being.
What a play, keeping just a single knight still around, and then the second Marinelord doesn't expect it anymore. You pull the knight, and that could have been even worse for Marinelord if the outpost wasn't so far finished.
Yep. Marinelord, though, starting to group his military together, starting to head towards what? That proxy school of cavalry. Louis needs to regroup, needs to take this fight with his mass together. Looks like he might be doing so, but spear numbers are just too high for those knights to charge into.
Right now, I mean, this is still feudal age right now, and with it being feudal age, that means that there's only 2 landmarks. If the school of cavalry goes down, then that means only the TC is remaining. And now Louis, he's getting a charge off there, gets a good amount of damage in on some of these archers, but he just doesn't have enough archers himself. Tries to just snipe out the spearmen. Spearmen are getting a lot of damage though on the knights, and now Louis has to retreat. However, because he didn't lose any knights there, it means that if those knights heal up, he's gonna be fine. And we see the army value is still pretty close here right now. Actually, it looks like Marinelord overtook him, but it couldn't have been much worse. And now the rest of the knights arrive, and that is a scary knight mass right now, I gotta say.
Yeah, I just wish those knights had potentially been there during that fight. It could have gone a lot differently. That being said, they're at least here now. Charging on in. Spear's not in position in time. A little bit of counteraction damage comes in, and Louis is taking the full-fledged fight right in front of that proxy council hall, or council hall school of cavalry, and taking down the majority of Marinelord's army that is up in front and forward, but at what cost?
The cost was pretty high, but it wasn't the worst. He was able to thin out the numbers quite a bit, but Marinelord still has a lot of army, and Louis, not so much. Now, Louis, he did scale quite nicely with his French TC bonus, but he did also lose a couple of villagers there in the back to one of the Ghazi raiders. He lost like 5 villagers to a single Ghazi raider.
Yeah, all those villagers that were trying to get that food got taken out by one single Ghazi raider. Archers pushing on up. They're able to close out and kill some of those lower health knights. I just saw 2 extra ones go down, and they're at the point where they're like 3-shotting these knights, and there's not a big mass for Louis. This is looking to tilt towards Marinelord's favor a little bit if he can thin this knight mass out.
Spears have been taken down, though. More spears are getting taken down. Army value, though, still Marinelord 1,000 army value ahead right now, and it's just so many archers. The archers are able to do a lot of damage to these knights, and Louis just doesn't have that many knights anymore. And even when the knights get low, they're not able to disengage in time as the archer volley just finishes them off.
Yeah, once you get to the point where you start 2-shotting those knights, it becomes so hard for you actually to effectively kite out and utilize that chivalry bonus because the archers snipe the low health ones out. Louis sitting at 22 military, whereas Marinelord is at 47.
This feels rough right now. Louis, he feels like he needs to take the fight right now because there aren't any more spearmen, but he just doesn't have the knight numbers to really take these fights, even if he wants to. Now the archers are getting focused down as well, and right now Marinelord, he can just start a step back. He doesn't even need to to focus even. He can literally just move back.
And exactly what we are seeing here now. A couple more spears come forward, and Louis, he's getting put down to single-digit military numbers. And when you are French in single-digit military numbers, and it's not all knights in your opponent's base, you usually just forfeit. And that is what he does. Game 3 goes over to Marinelord in a convincing 3-0 sweep. although some of the games were close for a bit, he just shows why he is one of the best out there.
Yeah, Marinelord, for a reason, known as the #1, and he showed it here. 3-0 against a player of Louis' caliber. That's definitely not something to shrug at. And